Hi, my name is Christian Estrada, and I'm currently creating a devlog on my Capstone project where I'm supposed to develop a fighting game that is both fun and unique while teaching others the basic fundamentals of fighting games. And hopefully, they like fighting games enough they will start playing more. Well, right now I'll explain a little bit of the basics of basic game design. So right now, I am currently using the Unity engine version 2008.4.14 F1, which I have to use a older version of the engine or it'll just put too much stress on my already very outdated computer. And since my computer is currently not a inferno on my desk, it should be alright. So, when developing games, you're either doing two things: making them functional or making them look pretty. If you're not making them look pretty, you're usually working on scripts. In this case, scripts are basically the backbone of video games, ranging from utilities like this button reference script and the intro scene manager script to a bit more actual ones to be mostly active, like the character manager script. In this case, the character manager script manages and controls human and computer interaction with the fighters. In this case, what they would control, while the select screen manages and controls how they would usually navigate through the 6 tiles of placeholder blue dudes. And in this case, when coding, you have to go through one or two simple things. One is never misspell, and two, always make sense of what you're basically writing down. In this case, I'm going to go to void start by referencing basically the character manager. I already have written that down. The number of players at this point, we'll be talking about how many players are currently going and navigating through the select screen, whether it be 1, 2, 3, or 7. And we'll be adding a bit more onto here. For in this case, we'll be creating a grid where the players will actually navigate through. So we're going to put char grid minus new portrait info. Put some basic brackets here. The max x and max y. When coding, never look down at your keyboard, because sometimes you just end up messing yourself up anyway. In this case, the car grid and the portrait info for the max and max x, max y is so that we don't be navigating somewhere in the random 3D point of space, and we're keeping it to this thin 2-layer plane. And for this case, we're going to be put integer or int x equals 0. Another integer, which int y equals 0. And this tells the computer the instructions to keep this plane exactly where it's at, in theory, while adding more parts like portrait can't spell portrait prefabs equals portrait canvas get component in children portrait info Gotta have those parentheses at the end and end it off with a semicolon. And with this, you're just telling the computer, when you put a semicolon, you're telling the computer to move on to the next line. You keep doing this, you write more stuff, put another colon, and it'll just keep telling the computer, move on to the next line. And with that, that's the basic fundamentals of trying to create a of game design in general. Because usually it'll take many people a longer time just to type out a whole script. In some cases, usually the scripts will go on for like thousands upon thousands of lines of coding. Therefore, making it a bit more complex and uses a bit more processing power for the computer. For which, if you're not doing scripts, then you usually are working on the actual game itself. And in which, in this case, you're moving assets from the folders, from the prefabs to the scripts, to basically plugging components together like a huge puzzle. But the puzzle's like very complex. And in this case, all we need is basically one working mind and 2 people willing to test play, and with that you get a working game. So my name is Christian Nygren, and I conclude this devlog.